Well, folks, seems like our deep dive into AI just got a whole lot deeper.
Oh, yeah.
Remember our Black Swan for LLMs episode,
Right.
where we were exploring the idea that the future of AI might not be about just building bigger and bigger models.
Right, right.
The ones that guzzle energy like it's going out of style.
Yeah, those energy hogs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And guess what? It seems like somebody out there was taking notes.
Hmm.
You sent us Gabriel Rene's COSM 2024 presentation transcript
Oh, wow.
alongside our Black Swan episode.
Okay.
Let me tell you,
Yeah.
this is big.
I bet.
Rene, the CEO versus AI, basically threw down the gauntlet,
He did.
showed the world that a smaller, more agile AI can go head-to-head with the industry giants
And win.
and win.
Yeah.
What's particularly striking is how Rene's presentation directly addresses the skepticism we discussed in our Black Swan episode. You know, the whole debate about whether these massive language models are truly reasoning
Uh-huh.
or just recognizing patterns they've been trained on?
Oh, yeah. Are they really thinking or just playing a super sophisticated game of connect the dots?
Right.
Yeah,
Well, Rene put that question to the test,
he did.
and the results are pretty mind-blowing.
I can't wait to hear this.
Okay.
Lay it on me.
He pitted versus AI's creation, an AI named Genius,
Okay.
against OpenAI's latest behemoth in 100 rounds of Mastermind.
Whoa, hold on, Mastermind. For those unfamiliar, that's a classic code-breaking game.
Oh, yeah.
It requires logic, deduction, strategic thinking, not just brute force calculation.
Exactly, and to put it mildly, Genius wiped the floor with OpenAI's model.
Oh, wow.
We're not talking about a marginal victory here.
No.
Genius solved the puzzles 140 times faster.
Wow.
And get this,
Okay.
over 5,000 times cheaper.
What?
All of this running on a simple MacBook,
Oh, my goodness.
while OpenAI's model was flexing its muscles in a massive data center.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, these results go beyond just winning a game.
Right.
They highlight the potential for a genuine paradigm shift in AI. For so long, the focus has been on building bigger and bigger models, assuming that more data and processing power equals more intelligence.
Right. More data, more intelligence,
Yeah.
more power, more intelligence.
Right.
But Rene and versus AI are demonstrating that true intelligence might lie in efficiency, in understanding the fundamental principles of how the human brain actually works.
Okay, so they're not just adding more data to the mix.
Right.
They're fundamentally changing the recipe,
Yeah.
drawing inspiration from neuroscience.
Okay, so what does this neuroscience-inspired approach actually look like in action?
Well, they're focusing on replicating the functional principles of the human brain, how it processes information, makes decisions, adapts to new situations.
Okay.
One key concept they're using is called active inference.
Active inference.
Yeah, imagine your brain constantly building models of the world, making predictions about what will happen next,
Uh-huh.
and then updating those models based on the feedback it receives. That's active inference in a nutshell.
So it's like our brains are running simulations all the time, testing different scenarios and learning from the outcome.
Yeah, exactly.
And versus AI is trying to build that same learning process into their AI.
That's right.
That's fascinating.
Yeah,
But how do they actually translate this complex biological process into code?
that's where their hyperspatial modeling language, or HSML, comes in.
HSML.
Yeah, it's a protocol that allows them to represent information in a way that captures the relationships between different objects and concepts, mimicking how our brains store and retrieve knowledge.
So are they essentially creating a new language for AI to understand and interact with the world?
Yeah, you could say that it's a whole new framework for thinking about and representing knowledge.
Okay.
And the potential applications go way beyond playing mastermind.
Right.
We're talking about smart cities, autonomous vehicles, maybe even space exploration.
Wow.
It's a complete game changer,
Yeah.
validating our black swan theory in a way we never imagined.
I'm already feeling like we need to do a whole separate deep dive just on HSML.
Oh, yeah.
But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's take a step back. You mentioned space exploration.
Yeah.
Is versus AI actually working with, say, NASA?
They are.
Really?
NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory is exploring how to use HSML to control robots and spacecraft more efficiently and autonomously.
Wow.
Imagine a rover on Mars that can adapt to unexpected situations and make decisions in real time without waiting for instructions from Earth.
Okay, now that is mind-blowing.
It's pretty cool.
This feels like the first chapter in a science fiction novel,
Sure.
but it's actually happening right now.
It really does highlight the potential of versus AI's approach, but
Mhm.
it's important to remember we're still in the early stages.
Yeah.
This technology is evolving rapidly.
Right. So while it's incredibly exciting, it's probably wise to temper our expectations and recognize that there's still a lot of work to be done.
Absolutely. But the possibilities are vast.
Yeah.
This could lead to a democratization of AI, making it more accessible and affordable for a wider range of users.
Right.
Imagine smaller companies, researchers, even individuals having access to AI tools that can truly reason and learn.
Yeah, this could also lead to a more sustainable approach to AI, moving away from the energy-hungry data centers that power current large language models.
Precisely, versus AI's approach isn't just about building smarter AI.
Yeah.
It's about building AI that's more efficient, sustainable, and accessible.
Right.
This could be the start of a whole new era of AI development.
This brings us back to the black swan concept we talked about earlier. Versus AI is a perfect example of how a seemingly small development can have massive ripple effects, disrupting industries and challenging the status quo.
And it underlines the importance of staying curious, questioning assumptions, and being open to new ideas.
Yeah.
The future of AI is still being written,
Right.
and it's companies like Versus AI that are holding the pen.
It makes you wonder what other black swans might be lurking out there waiting to disrupt industries and change the world as we know it. But before we get too lost in speculation, let's bring it back to versus AI. What are some of the challenges they're facing, and what should we as informed listeners be paying attention to?
That's a great question, and it's something we'll delve into in part 2 of this deep dive.
Okay.
We'll explore the technical intricacies of Versus AI's approach, the hurdles they're facing, and the potential implications for various industries.
So make sure you stick around for part 2. We'll be unpacking all of that and more.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Versus AI. I'm still reeling from that mastermind challenge. It's such a powerful illustration of their approach.
I know, right? It's not just that genius won, it's how it won. So efficiently, on such a basic machine, it really throws down the gauntlet to the idea that bigger is always better in AI.
Exactly. And that's what makes digging into their methodology so fascinating. We left off talking about active inference,
Right.
but to grasp that, we need to understand how Versus AI views intelligence itself.
Okay, lay it on us. How does versus AI define intelligence, especially compared to, say, what Google or OpenAI are doing?
Well, they see intelligence as fundamentally about prediction. Think about it. Your brain is constantly predicting what will happen next, from the simple act of catching a ball to understanding complex language.
Right.
Versus AI argues that the ability to make accurate predictions and learn from when those predictions are wrong is the core of intelligence.
So it's not just about crunching data or recognizing patterns.
Yeah.
It's about actively engaging with the world, making informed guesses, and then refining your understanding based on the results.
Precisely, that's where active inference comes in. Instead of passively receiving data like most AI models do, an active inference system is constantly generating its own expectations, testing them against the real world, and updating its internal model based on how well its predictions match reality.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this connects to the Mastermind Challenge.
Yeah.
Genius wasn't just brute forcing its way through possibilities. It was using logic and strategy like a human player would to make educated guesses about the code.
Exactly. It was making predictions, testing them, and learning from its mistakes, and that's what allowed it to solve the puzzles so much faster and more efficiently than a traditional deep learning model.
This is where it gets tricky for me, though. How do you actually program a machine to think this way? To predict, to test, to learn from its mistakes? It seems like such an inherently human process.
And that's the genius of Versus AI's approach, pun intended. They've developed a whole new way of representing and processing information called hyperspatial modeling language, or HSML.
We touched on HSML before, but I'm still fuzzy on the details. What is it about this language that makes it so different from how other AI systems work?
Think of it this way. Most AI models process data in a linear fashion, like reading a book from beginning to end.
Okay.
HSML, on the other hand, allows AI to store and process information in a more interconnected, multidimensional way, kind of like a mind map.
So instead of just processing data in a sequence, it can see the relationships between different pieces of information, understand context, and make inferences like our brains do.
Exactly. It's about representing knowledge in a way that captures the complexity and nuance of the real world. And that's what allows Versus AI systems to reason, learn, and adapt in ways that traditional AI models simply can't.
Okay, I'm starting to get the bigger picture here. They're not just building AI, they're building a whole new framework for how AI understands and interacts with the world.
And the implications of that are immense. We're talking about potentially revolutionizing entire industries. We already mentioned NASA using HSML for spacecraft control, but the applications go far beyond that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Imagine supply chains that can predict and adapt to disruptions in real time, or smart cities that can optimize traffic flow and energy consumption based on a constantly evolving understanding of their environment.
You mentioned earlier that versus AI sees intelligence as being fundamentally about prediction. But isn't there a danger in focusing solely on prediction? What about creativity and intuition, those less tangible aspects of human intelligence? Can a system based on active inference and HSML truly capture the full spectrum of what our brains can do?
That's an excellent question, and it gets to the heart of one of the biggest debates in AI right now. Versus AI is making bold claims, arguing that their approach can achieve artificial general intelligence, or AGI.
And for those of us who aren't AI experts, AGI essentially refers to a machine that can perform any intellectual task that a human being can write.
Right, but AGI is a very loaded term, and there's a lot of skepticism in the scientific community about whether we're even close to achieving it. Some argue that versus AI's focus on prediction, while impressive, is still too narrow to encompass the full range of human cognitive abilities.
So while Versus AI has certainly made a splash with their Mastermind Challenge and their innovative approach, it's important to approach their claims of achieving AGI with a healthy dose of skepticism.
Absolutely. We need to be cautious about buying into the hype. But even if Versus AI hasn't cracked the code of AGI just yet, their work represents a significant departure from the prevailing paradigms in AI development. They're asking fundamental questions about the nature of intelligence and exploring radically different approaches to building AI systems.
And that's what makes this whole story so compelling, right? Versus AI is shaking things up, forcing the industry to rethink its assumptions and pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible. It's like they're the scrappy startup that's challenging the established giants, and we're all watching to see what happens next.
Exactly. And the outcome of this challenge has implications that go far beyond the world of AI. We're talking about potential shifts in economic power, ethical considerations, and even the very nature of work itself.
It's a lot to unpack, and we're just getting started. When we come back for part 3, we'll dive into the potential business implications of versus AI's success, the ethical dilemmas we might face as this technology evolves, and what you, our listeners, should be watching for in the coming months. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the show, folks. We've been knee-deep in the world of versus AI, their brain-inspired AI, and their audacious challenge to the giants of the industry.
Yeah, it's been quite the deep dive.
It has.
So we've explored their fascinating approach rooted in neuroscience,
Right.
that whole idea of active inference, their unique HSML language.
Right. And of course, their stunning victory in that mastermind showdown.
Right. And I think it's safe to say that versus AI is causing a stir, forcing everyone to rethink what's possible with AI and how we might get there. But now,
Yeah.
let's shift gears and talk about what all of this means for the business world,
Okay.
for everyday people, for you, our listeners.
All right. Sounds good.
One thing that immediately jumps out is the potential for disruption.
Yeah.
We've talked about how developing those massive language models is incredibly expensive.
Right.
It's a game that's largely been dominated by companies with deep pockets and massive data centers.
It's like an AI arms race
Yeah,
where only the biggest players can afford to compete.
right. But what if versus AI's approach proves to be more efficient, more cost-effective in the long run? What happens to the balance of power then?
That's the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
If versus AI can deliver on its promise of creating AI that's not only smarter, but also cheaper and more accessible,
Right.
it could completely shake up the industry. Imagine a world where smaller businesses, startups, even individual researchers have access to powerful AI tools that can reason, learn, and adapt.
Yeah, it could be a game changer.
Yeah, for innovation across so many sectors.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the cost versus AI's focus on aligning AI with human intelligence.
Yeah,
On building systems that can understand and interact with the world in a more human-like way could lead to more intuitive and user-friendly tools.
right. Imagine AI that can anticipate your needs, understand your intentions, and collaborate with you more effectively. This could change everything,
Oh, yeah.
from customer service education to healthcare and scientific research.
Absolutely. And this brings up another intriguing aspect, sustainability.
Right.
Right now, training and running those massive AI models consumes an incredible amount of energy.
It does.
If versus AI's approach can achieve similar results with a fraction of the computing power, it could have a significant impact on the environmental footprint of AI as well.
So it's like a win-win, creating AI that's not only smarter, but also greener. Okay, so we've got potential disruption, democratization, and a more sustainable path for AI. But let's be realistic, there must be some challenges, potential downsides to consider as well.
Right. Of course, with any new technology, there are always caveats. One of the biggest concerns is job displacement. As AI systems become more capable of performing tasks that were previously done by humans, it's natural to worry about the impact on employment.
Yeah, it's a valid concern.
Yeah.
We need to think about how we can prepare for this shift, how we can retrain workers and equip them with the skills they need to thrive in a future where AI is a more prominent part of the workforce.
Exactly. It's not about trying to stop progress, it's about adapting to it,
Right.
ensuring that everyone benefits from these advancements. And then, of course, there are the ethical considerations.
Yeah.
As AI becomes more powerful and more integrated into our lives, it's crucial that we develop ethical frameworks and regulations to guide its development and use development.
Right, ensuring that these systems are used responsibly, fairly, and for the benefit of humanity as a whole. It's a huge responsibility, and it's going to require a lot of thoughtful discussion and collaboration between policymakers, researchers, industry leaders, and the public.
We need to be having these conversations now, not waiting until the technology is so advanced that we can't control it. But at the end of the day, amidst all of the challenges and unknowns, I think there's a sense of excitement, a feeling that we're on the cusp of something truly revolutionary.
I agree. Versus AI, whether they achieve AGI or not, has thrown down a gauntlet.
They have.
They're pushing the boundaries,
Yeah.
challenging the status quo, and forcing us to rethink what's possible. And who knows, maybe this is just the tip of the iceberg. Maybe there are even more surprising discoveries waiting to be made.
That's the beauty of it all, isn't it?
It is.
The future is unwritten, and thanks to companies like Versus AI, it's looking more and more interesting every day. So, to our listeners, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged in these conversations. The future of AI is in our hands.
I couldn't have said it better myself. That's it for our deep dive on Versus AI. If you want to go even deeper, we highly recommend checking out Gabriel Rene's full COSM presentation. We'll include a link in the show notes. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.